Take a look behind the exotic factory suspension and all the titanium bits on the brand new 2020 Honda CRF450RW that's just been wheeled out, and you will see this is the basis of a brand new 2021 production Honda CRF450R. Every 4 years, Honda's wheeled out an all-new evolution of its flagship 450 motocross bike, and it looks like the 2021 model will be an all-new bike. This bike's been wheeled out for world champion Tim Gasjer and his new teammate Mitch Evans to race in the MXGP series in 2020. So officially, it's a 2020 CRF450RW, where the W stands for Works. But make no bones about it, underneath here is absolutely the basis of the brand new bike that should be in the shops sometime at the end of the summer in 2020 as the 2021 production model. This bike just has too many things on it that are production ready for it to be just a one-off prototype. Apart from the frame, which is obviously still very much a handmade item, the team is moving its engine position around and trying different wall thicknesses in order to get the handling just right on the bike. But everything else, all the plastics, where everything fits, is absolutely getting ready for production. It's obvious right from the start the bodywork is completely different to the current production bike, and also the bike ridden in the AMA Championship by Ken Roczen and Justin Brayton. In America there's a production rule, so the bikes have to have production frames, largely a production-based engine, and they stick with the production bodywork. But in the MXGP Championship, prototypes are allowed, which is why this bike can look completely different. Now, Honda normally debuts its bikes in the All Japan Championship, but this year they've scaled back their efforts there, so it looks like the MXGP team will be the main area for development for the new bike as it nears final production stages. And the really obvious thing is the twin exhausts have gone. Now there's a single conventional right-hand side exhaust. But I suppose the absolute biggest change is the frame. And actually, this is a lot more to do with just a new style frame. It's to do with getting even more power out of the engine. Honda a few years ago decided that instead of having bikes that were really mellow and very easy to ride, they were going to focus on power and getting the whole shot. And the production bike really is quick. Now what this frame's done, yes, it will change the handling of the bike, but also it will give a straighter run through the air right from the intake through to the exhaust and right to the back of the bike to make it as efficient as possible. And making this engine efficient is what this machine is all about. Now the frame is definitely very different. It's a different shape, it's a different size. The bends on the new machine are really different compared to the 2020 bike. The main upright spars look slightly thinner, which means that the handling will be changed. The subframe bolts on much lower, on the left hand side certainly, than on the stock bike. The upper chain roller is more tucked in, but really the main differences are at the front. So the frame's down tube is now shorter and is welded to a really beefy looking split cradle, which is higher than before. What this means that instead of having the head pipe coming out and having to snake around the down tube, it can now come out straight forward, which means that there's improvement in flow. Of course, this means that there's a new cylinder head. The engine still has a Unicam head like the technology on the older bikes, but the cylinder head's definitely new. The engine now has a centre port, much like a KTM or a Husqvarna. There are also shorter radiators with the water hose coming straight down instead of being curved and going into a curved spigot. Honda's also focused a lot on getting the air into the engine. So instead of having the air flowing around the rear shock through the air boot, by lowering the shock tower, the new bike has a more direct, almost a downdraft line from the airbox into the engine. So it's straight in with the air at the back, straight out with the exhaust gas at the front. This is all about a more efficient and therefore more powerful engine. Now you can see that the seat usually bolts on at the rear of the bike, but now the seat mounting bolts are right at the front. The right side panel has 2 mounting bolts, while the left hand side panel only has 1. We don't know what this means yet, but it's likely that the air filter access is now from the left hand side, so you can change the air filter by just undoing the single bolt and not taking off the seat, very much like KTM and Husqvarna. Now for years, Honda's always championed mass centralisation and balance, and that's one of the reasons that Honda said they've stuck with the twin silencers, twin exhausts, in order to make the bike more balanced. Well, they've now gone back on that and gone to the single exhaust. Honda says this is going to be the lightest production bike, and getting rid of the twin exhaust, which is more complicated, costs more to build, costs more to buy, is more fiddly to repack. They're going to a single pipe, which really doesn't give any disadvantage in power, it means that the bike can be lighter. Now, the engine itself, with the Unicam head, it's definitely got a different cylinder head, but the rest of it looks pretty much like the same castings from the 2020 production bike. I mean, the clutch cover is different. It's similar to the stock unit, but doesn't have an oil filter access plug. The engine side case is sand cast and has a sight glass and oil filler cap at the top, which the standard bike doesn't have. The water pump is the same casting as stock, but it looks like it's in a different material. Essentially, it's the stock engine with the usual factory Honda modifications that appeared on their bikes for quite a few years. Obviously, we don't know what's changed internally. Hopefully, they'll have fitted a beefed-up clutch. This bike of Tim Geiser's has a Hinson clutch. Clutches have been a bit of an issue on Hondas in the past. Let's hope they've done something around that. Now, Geiser's bike has a factory shower shock and forks, which have got, the forks have titanium nitride coated legs, and the shock shaft also is nitride coated. The standard bikes are likely not to have anything like this, or the BFRC rear shock, but go to more standard shower components. The fuel tank on the new bike is metal, looks like it could be titanium, and is fitted with a machined fuel cap, which is really cool. Its chances are that the standard bike won't have this. This is just for the factory bike. Now, it has custom-made Yoshimura exhausts, which are obviously for the factory bike. The standard ones won't be like that. And it also has CNC machine triple clamps. And the rear Nissin brake cylinder doesn't have a sight window, unlike the stock unit, which does. Honda have run this on its factory bikes for many years. It's good for normal riders to have a sight window to check on the level of the brake fluid, whereas Honda doesn't want its factory riders risking getting a stone smashing it and ruining their back brake during a race. What is pretty nice on Geiser's bike is that the frame side spars have got a rubber coating. This is made by Vibram, who usually make soles for walking shoes. There are obviously some really cool factory parts on it. The lower chain guard is made from carbon fibre with titanium bolts. Obviously, there'll just be a standard aluminium unit on the production bike with steel bolts. And the factory bike comes with rental bars and grips, and there's a Super Sprox steel and aluminium hybrid rear sprocket, but these won't be on the standard bike. Although it probably will come with some form of rental handlebars. Now, Honda says the bike follows its ethos of mass centralisation, is light and manoeuvrable, and has a usable power delivery. In recent times, they've really focused on whole shots and getting that power down to the ground, so the engine position and the mass centralisation, the power delivery of the engine, all combines to be a bike that hopefully ticks all those boxes. One thing you can see that's new on the bike on the left side is a little black box that has the CRF logo embossed in it. Now, we don't know what this is. Chances are it's probably some electronics, as it's right in front of the fuel injection unit. But that CRF logo already impressed into the box means it's likely to be a production part. So make no bones about it. This is the basis of the bike that you will be able to buy in Honda dealers in the near future. Honda comes out with a new 450 every 4 years, so 2021 model year is the time for the new bike to be wheeled out onto the showroom floors, which means that the 2022 bike and the 250 class, that will get the new upgrades of the 21 450. The bike's already been raced. It was given a winning debut by Tim Geiser in the opening Italian International at Riola Sardo in Sardinia. He whole shot both races and cleared off to the win. So that's obviously a good sign for the bike. Now, this bike will change through the year as the team develop it, and we'll bring you more news and details on it when we get them. Thanks for watching.